What is good, y'all? Welcome to Let's Cap. I'm your host, Ronald from Wagertalk. We got Austin Wang and Chris B. Capping here with me today. Really great panel today. Friday, I think we had the same show last week as well. On Fridays, Austin usually pops in here when he has time on Fridays. So dope to have both of you guys on here. And better yet, man, both of you guys are really hot right now. So a really good time to have you guys on here in the NBA playoffs. Austin, I know you're on a 10-0 run here on your newsletter. Your newsletter plays in the NBA playoffs. Chris, you're on a 13-0 run. I know your YouTube subscribers are mad happy right now. Man, I'm on an 8-0 run right now too as well. So we're all pretty high right now. Hopefully we continue going in that direction here to close out the NBA playoffs. Austin, real quick, before we start going into the games here, talk about what you got going on with that newsletter. I know you are working with some guys there, and where they can find your work, basically.
Sure, yeah. I mean, you can find. I post all the newsletter plays I have on my Twitter account. I work with a friend of mine at Sports Dogma, a friend of mine for a couple of years now. We've recently partnered with a group of us guys. There's different expertise. There's MLB. There's a guy, C2, 40-year-old vision. He does MLB along with a guy named Champ. We got Dave Millhouse. He does some UFC. And we have a soccer guy, Youcapper, and so a lot of elaborate, great write-ups, great angles. So yeah, we've all partnered together to do this newsletter, and it's been great, man. I mean, like you were mentioning earlier, like playoff basketball, the narratives, the angles, it all just makes a lot more sense instead of like trying to deal with
Yeah.
regular season basketball. Who's going to play? Who's going to have load management? It's all coming together here, and we're seeing
Yeah.
the fruits of our labor. With these bets hitting.
Yeah, man. On Twitter, I was saying earlier on Twitter, like I love seeing all the check marks everybody's putting down on the timeline, dude. Like it's dope to see it, because all I saw earlier in the season was a lot of complaining about like when our players are gonna show up, right? Like injury management, or load management, and all that stuff. Now we don't really got to worry about that, and guys who know basketball play it. We're getting it done now. Chris, how's everything going for you?
Yeah, it's going well. Like you said, I see. I think Austin said some good stuff as well. But yeah, I think just to kind of sum it up, I think I may not make a bet in the NBA next year until the Heat go on a 5-game winning streak. Like
Or just
that'll be
until the playoffs, or
right,
just until the
right,
playoffs.
right. I don't feel like they're going when they start taking the season series is when I'll start taking the season series.
Yeah.
So yeah, that I don't know. Things are going really, really well, and like Austin said, fruits of our labor kind of coming back together because I know we all work hard. A lot
Yeah.
of people, a lot of other great cappers in the gambling Twitter space or in our group chat, whatever the case might be, all working hard to try to find the value, find the plays, find the angles, and it's coming together. So it's good to see, and hopefully we can just kind of keep it going. Always on to the next one for sure.
Love it. All right, let's get into the games today. Actually, one game today, and then we'll look at the series preview game 3 for Lakers Denver as well. So Miami Heat, Boston Celtics, guys. I'm gonna bring the screen up here. Let's go with you first. Talk about what you see in this game today.
Sure. So I think in game one, it was a textbook fade Celtics play. They just got off a 7-game series. You knew their defense wasn't going to be as sharp. They were fatigued. The Heat had more rest in them. So it was a textbook fade Celtics play on the Heat. And that played out, as I expected it. But now it's the textbook zigzag spot for the Boston Celtics. And as you know, they've been resilient in the playoffs. They're 11-3 straight up and against the spread over the last 3 seasons. I see some shooting regression, 3-point regression from the Heat as Celtics make their adjustments on defense. 9-point spread. We talked about this earlier, Ronald. They're really juicing up these lines of with these zigzags here. I mean, at the first game closed -8, -8, 8.5.
Mm-hmm.
The Celtics lost outright, and now they're bigger favorites in game 2. I mean, they're factoring all the zigzag theory into the lines, and they're really making you pay for it. And as you know, it's been hitting. So I think 9 points is kind of high. I'm kind of scared of Jimmy Butler and his heroics in the second half. I do like the first half here. I played the Celtics -5.5.
-5.5. Got you. Here's one thing before we get to Chris here. Like one thing that I like about this game here, I took the Heat team total under. This is one of the main reasons why. So this says since 2017, in the playoffs, coming off of a home favorite loss, and both teams shot greater than 50%. Those teams are 5-2 straight up, 6-1 against the spread, 5-1-1 to the under. But if you look at the defense that comes in that the following game here, none of those teams went over their team total, and that's kind of fading the Heat here. Obviously, the Heat shot, I think their offensive rating was 126 or 127 around there. And they did it against the second best defensive team in the league in the regular season, obviously. But I know that the playoffs has been a little bit different for both teams. Miami on the offensive side of the ball, and then Boston on the defensive side of the ball. But I just don't expect that to happen in back-to-back games here, especially with how the Celtics do coming off of a loss. And I know Chris, you're the one who put that on me. Put me on that trend about the Boston Celtics after a loss in the playoffs, and ever since then, it kind of been following it a little bit stronger. But put those two things combined, right? The historical trend along with what Miami is the Celtics are expected to do off of a loss. I had to take the team total under on the Heat side, regardless of whether they win or lose. All right, because you can go. One other thing to mention as well. If we go, I think it was series game 2. Let me just do this real quick. I don't remember if this was right, but home favorite and series game equals 2. Is that right? All right. So this one here, since 2017 in the playoffs, home favorite loss in game 1, and then they're a home favorite again. Series game 2, typically you would go and back that home favorite team in game 2, right? 22-6 straight up, 20-8 against the spread. But I think it was different when you go later in the playoffs, round greater than or equal to 3. Well, I guess it's just not as you just don't have a lot of sample size. The sample size is not greater, so it was always just tough when you don't have that big of a sample size for longer term trends. But for the most part, I mean, if I was to bet aside, it would be the Celtics. But I'm more comfortable with just taking the Heat team total under, expecting a letdown offensively, and Celtics to show up defensively. Chris, what are some things that you saw in this game here?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing was, and shout out to you. I see you kind of, not, I wouldn't say talk me off, but just kind of made me see it from a different angle. I was on Miami in the last game as well, the +8.5, the team total over 101.5, and the full game over the 211. And then, like, I think what Austin mentioned, what you mentioned, the regression that we should see from the Miami Heat being able to shoot the ball. It really was that third quarter. I know we kind of I talked about it earlier in the chat. Third quarter, they gave up 46 points. And that's just, the Celtics not being locked in, which is, who they are. They have been, not locked in. If you took the Celtics in the first quarter, I think you may have gotten a push. If you took them at half, they had like a 7-point lead. And then, they come out and get blasted. And you see so many players in Miami able to knock down the 3-point ball. I think they had like maybe 4 players that hit 3 threes or more. RC, I think Strus was one. Caleb Martin was one. Kyle Lowry was one. So they just shot the ball well. So we should see some regression there. For me, in this game, RC, I think if I'm playing it, I'm only looking towards the Celtics because of, them off a loss. But I think the spread is high, but it's one of those spreads that is high for a reason. Yeah. We looked at this maybe a few weeks ago, and I think we pivoted off of the spread because they hadn't been covering off a loss as well as they had been in recent years. I don't know if you remember that or not. I forgot what game that was and who they were playing against. I think it might have been the Atlanta series in the first round. But one of the things I looked at, RC, was since 2017, when this line is stronger for the team that lost in game 2, that's still home, those teams are covering at a really, really high rate. So specifically, PO equals home. RC, PO and home. Previous loss. Series game equals 2. And then the line is greater than, or you can say less than the previous line since 2017. Those teams are covering at a really, really high rate in that, just looking at that query.
Yeah.
So this would say, that this game kind of gets out of hand. You see 11-point margin there.
Yep.
A victory, and I think the spread is moving towards 9.5 now. So it's a pretty sharp line, and it says that maybe Miami is a little complacent today because they played so well and they did their job already, right? You like the play, a series doesn't start until the road team wins a game. So I'm pretty sure they'd be complacent. You know, we can
This
see
is the
some
second time I
complacency
heard
there.
that today.
Yeah, they could be a little complacent and you know, come out ready to go back to Miami 1-1 because the job essentially is done
Yeah,
in Boston already.
got you. This definitely supports that first half. You said first half minus 5.5, right, Austin?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. So
Just
that definitely
I'm
supports it.
noticing here, looking at this, that the three of the losses are against the Heat. So man, they're just immune.
Oh shit! Yeah, you're right. That's pretty interesting. Here's
Those were bubble games though, right? The
2019. No, there
Yeah.
was one last year. There
There was one
year.
against the Knicks too.
Yeah, one last
the
year against
Heat
the
ended
Knicks
up
here.
winning, or covering at least.
Yeah, that's a big spread too. Here's so going back to the Celtics right here. So Celtics off of a home loss, 11-4 straight up and against the spread, 13-2 to the under on the full game under in this one. This is since 2019. And you can see that the DPA here, team total under, what is that? 12-3 to the team total under for their opponent. Do you guys see anything from a total perspective? I know we were kind of talking about the side and things like that, but this kind of, I mean, it kind of correlates with Miami going under the team total, right? Like the full game should go under as well. The only thing that I'm scared of, if the Celtics do cover, right, the full game, and they want to make a statement after losing game one. Look what happened in game two against the Sixers, right? They won by like 30-some points. They could run it up, but are they gonna be able to limit the Heat enough for the full game to go under? That was the one thing that I was kind of thinking about in the back of my mind, is just if I wanted to take that full game under as well. Because yesterday I took the Nuggets team total under and the full game under. But today I kind of just want to focus on that team total under, unless you guys can convince me otherwise. Do you guys think the full game under is the way to go here?
Well, I do want to point out that I think you're really onto something here with these team total unders, because I know you've been doing that for the last couple of weeks in these exact scenarios, and you're, instead of going with, and like I mentioned earlier, they're shading these lines really high in favor of the team that's in that bounce back zigzag spot.
Yeah.
So they're making you pay that premium, but I think you found another way to tackle it, and a great angle to go about it is the team total unders, and this is a good example of that. And you're right. I mean, yeah, the Celtics, I expect them to ramp up that defense, have the shooting regression for the Heat. And yes, so I really like that Heat team total under, and I think I'm going to back you on that as well. But I just don't know how big the Celtics offense is going to show up. So that could drive it over. I think the team total under for the Heat is probably the safer option. So that's just my thoughts there.
Yeah. I know they scored hella points, like I said, though, but it was their offensive efficiency was like off the charts. Their pace was still kind of, it wasn't like over 100 or anything. It was like what, 95, 96 around there?
96.
96. So it was still kind of slow. It was just the fact that they made the shots. Like, are we gonna really see these guys shoot 50+% from three again? Guys like Lowry and stuff. I mean, I don't think we see that. That's the reason why I like the team total under for the most part. It's just, but Boston, with their backs against the wall, man, they just show up on both sides of the ball. So that's kind of the reason why I stay away from the full game. Any last comments on this one before we move to the Lakers game?
I would just back what Austin said, RC. I think if you touch the total, you just take those. You just take the Heat team total under. No reason to play the full total at all. Yeah. I think because you see a stronger case for their team total to go under, because like you said, the Celtics can really fill it up, and if they're shooting as well as Miami did last game, then this the Heat could go under their team total, and the game still could go over. We know the Celtics like to shoot a lot of 3-pointers, a lot of variance there, and if they're going in, Malcolm Brogdon, Derek White, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Al Horford, those guys get the hitting threes. This total could go over, especially with it being so low. It's only 215. So I would just stay where you are.
Sneak over. You could barely sneak over. Yeah. All right, well, cool. I like I said, I already took that one. I did take a small play on the Celtics fourth quarter as well. And this season in the 5 losses following game, they took the fourth quarter by 3 or more points in all of them. I just expect if for some reason they come out like they did in the third quarter, in game one. If Miami comes out like that in the third quarter again, I expect Miami to take control in the fourth quarter, end up winning that game, whether they cover or whatever. I just feel like Miami might kind of force the issue in the fourth quarter, and Celtics kind of take advantage of that. That's the way I went as well. That's a much smaller play than the team total under. So I did take that as well, just full transparency. All right, let's move on to the Lakers and Nuggets there. Chris, let's go to you here. I know this is your squad. Maybe we see you on TV. I don't know, but what do you see on this game here? Game 3, Lakers and Nuggets.
Yeah, man. So Lakers in a pretty bad spot. They had that game, in a headlock last night, but they couldn't score, and really showed up in the fourth quarter when they just weren't able to make a shot. Jamal Murray saw one go in, and it was like throwing a rock into the ocean. He was just caught fire, and that was the difference in the game last night. Lakers +6 did cash, and the under did cash as well, but they did lose that game. So now you got Denver, who struggles a lot more on the road. I think you know this. They struggle a lot more on the road than they do at home. So I'm expecting to see just their defensive rating drop a little bit. There's also the complacency piece that comes into play. I think like just the psychological complacency, like we're up to, and then you on the opposite side, you get that, really, really determined and motivated team that's down 0-2. So, a trend that I typically look at in this situation I see is, home favorites coming off back-to-back losses in the playoffs. Those teams do really, really well, specifically in the first half of games, and they're typically covering the spread as well. For the Lakers, they hang their head on the defensive end. I see. So I think that's another really, really big key piece. They could have won the game last night. You could say they kind of ran out of gas late. So I think that they put themselves in a position in game 3 to where, it may not even be as close for them, to have to need to, score as many points late. I expect them to play another really good defensive game and avoid, that spot in the fourth quarter where you're only up 3 or 4 points. So I like the first half, RC. It was 2.5, -130. I missed the best odds at -115 when it opened last night, but I did take the 2.5 as well in the first half because it seems like that's should be, if the team's not winning at halftime, they're probably not going to win the full game either or cover. So jumped in on this one early, got the -4 for the full game and the -2.5 for the first half. Desperation spot for the Lakers. You go down 0-3, we know what the trends are in that direction. So Lakers for me, first half -2.5 and full game -4.
-2.5 and -4 full game. What do you think about the 5.5 that we see now? Would you still back it?
I probably would. The only reason I wouldn't is because I got a much better number yesterday.
Yeah,
a 1.5 is it doesn't seem that big until you get the 1.5, right? Like if you had to take a 5.5, I don't think anything's wrong with it, but I feel much better watching that number go from 4 to 4.5, from 4.5 to 5, from 5, and like in that regard to say, wow, man, it feels good to get that 4. So you got to get on these numbers. I know Jay always talks about it. I've been giving out these numbers on my YouTube page pretty much after every game as well, just trying to get the best number. So yeah, I think they could potentially cover the 5.5. I think teams that are covering in the playoffs, RC, are covering. I want to say it's about 88% so far. The team that wins the game.
You talking about the winner?
The winner's been covering about 80. Yeah, I know it was 90, and I know the Lakers covered the last 2 numbers. So I'm thinking that it's probably probably decreased a little bit, but it's well over 85% is what I would guess.
Yeah, I could only look towards the Lakers as well. You just brought up that trend. Was it 2 losses in a row and then they're the home favorite? Even if we look at historically, it's been pretty profitable, really profitable actually, 57.6%. If we go this season specifically, still doing well. So it's something to definitely take note of. That first half margin is there as well. It looks like a possible play towards the Lakers to go over their team total as well. Austin, what are your thoughts on this one? Did you look ahead to game 3 yet?
Yeah, I did. And I'm not going to add too much more than what y'all have already talked about. I agree with all your points. This is textbook zigzag spot for the Lakers, textbook down 0-2 desperation spot for the Lakers. You look at their home splits, 6-0 straight up against the spread in the playoffs. You look at Nuggets away splits, and they're a completely different team than they are at home. And it just makes sense to back the Lakers. Now, we've already talked about this a few times about them shading the lines way too high, and y'all even made another great point about teams that win the game cover the spread. But you take a look at this; it was Denver minus 5.5 yesterday, yesterday. Lakers minus 5.5 tomorrow. That's an 11-point swing. It's crazy. Yeah. It's ridiculous. But nonetheless, I still like the Lakers to cover. I grabbed them at -5 this morning. To your point earlier, Ronald, and to what we had discussed, I mean, would this be another spot for the Nuggets team total under, given that the Lakers defense is amazing?
That's what I was exactly. That's kind of what I was looking at here. So if you look at the home road splits and how the Lakers do defensively at home, pretty much all under for their opponents except for this one, but it was an OT game, right? They went over by a point. So obviously they went under in regulation. The other thing too, if you go, I think it was PL. The only one that they didn't cover, they didn't win, was the last game. And again, that defense shows up after the loss. I just feel like it's another situation where we have to look at that zigzag from that team total aspect, right? Because I don't know if it's a new idea, but I just feel like it's a better way to go because we actually know what one team has to work on. The zigzag theory going back and forth with the spread or the total. We know like, all right, well, it's gonna go back and forth in some way, in some fashion, right? But sometimes, especially with teams like this, like the Nuggets, who are so good offensively, you got to think about, how did they win? In what fashion did they win in the previous game? And then on the Lakers side, what did they do to adjust, or what can they do to adjust? I just feel like I feel like the Lakers fucked up game one in the fourth quarter, changing their strategy in the fourth quarter with Rui guarding Jokic. Maybe they should have waited until after the game, because that gave the ability for Nuggets to make their adjustments, right? So that kind of took away from the true zigzag or whatever, but they still ended up covering, right? They still ended up covering, but it was really close. The thing here is now both teams are going to adjust with the travel situation, right? Going from road to home, home to road. And we know going from home to road, the Nuggets tend to struggle as well. And putting all those things combined, I just feel like Nuggets probably team total under might be the way that I go. As much as I kind of want to look towards the Lakers team total over, I feel like the Nuggets will probably struggle here in LA. Just defense, right? And then going from their continued struggles going from elevation to the road. Obviously, the Lakers are going to go through the same impact going from Denver to LA, but I think Lakers at home get it done. So I'm kind of scared to take their team total over, just because we've seen here they've been able to win and cover they've been able to cover by even when going under their team total. So Nuggets team total under is probably the way that I go in that one. I haven't taken that one yet. But to your point, that's probably the way that I'm going to go.
I can dig that, and I think I'll roll with you there.
Yeah, I like it. And then that, I mean, obviously it's correlated with the spread as well, in my opinion. It's just a matter of if you're messing with the total, do you feel like they run it up, or they just do enough to get it done? Sorry. Lakers should not be laying 4 to 5 points. This is crazy. Give me Nuggets point. I mean, Nuggets got, to me, the best player in the world right now. So it seems like it's crazy, but situationally, I think we gotta take every situation differently. I think, right, and that's kind of why we look at the SDQL stuff. I don't know. What did you guys take on that, Chris? What do you think about that comment?
I would tell Alvin to compare this Laker team to compare them to the Phoenix Suns last round, right? Do you feel like the Phoenix Suns are better than the Lakers? Because they were in the same exact spot. Mm-hmm. Denver came to Phoenix and lost game 3. Mm-hmm. Phoenix got an incredible effort from Devin Booker and Kevin Durant in that game. You also see the role players play better. That was the game that Landry Shamet hit all the threes in the corner.
Yep.
So, Lakers have similar capable players as far as Rui Hachimura, who played well on the road yesterday, Lonnie Walker, Austin Reeves, Dennis Schroeder. D'Lo hasn't had a great game yet. So I would just tell them to look at more of the numbers. I remember when I was thinking like Alvin, right? Like that didn't really understand the zigs and the zags. And, anything is possible if you take what you absolutely love. But I will tell them that, trends show us that it's a reason why these lines are where they are. So, yeah. And Phoenix doesn't play as good on the road either. I'm sorry, not Phoenix. Denver doesn't play as good on the road.
Yeah, Denver won game 1 and 2 against Phoenix by like double digits, and then end up losing outright in Phoenix both times too. So I get what you're saying about that, Chris. Austin, any comments on that?
No, not much more than what Chris explained it very well. I mean, it's all based on situational spots, especially in the playoffs, right? You got to take it game by game basis. Look at motivations, look at situational spots, look at home road, analyze the line. Otherwise, we'd just be betting Nuggets every single game, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It makes a lot of sense. All right. Well, any last comments on that before we? I think Austin, you have a MLB play too. I want to get to that.
Sure.
But anything left on this Lakers Nuggets?
Not for me.
Nope. All right, let's move on to the MLB real quick. Austin, I know you have a play, or I think you talked about this in a previous show too. Your over model. Go ahead and talk about your play that you like here.
Sure. Yeah, I shared a couple weeks ago, and it's just a contrarian over system that I've been backing this season. It's been really profitable, and it's basically when you take two starting pitchers with very above average ERAs facing off, and the total is a high total. So I define that as 8 runs or above. So tonight we've got the Mariners and the Braves facing off. Bryce Miller and Bryce Elder, both the battle of the Bryces, both have excellent ERAs, great young pitchers, and the total is at 8.5, steaming up towards 9. It actually kind of teetered towards 9 and got bet back down to 8.5. But I think that the total is very telling here, even with those two really solid pitchers with solid ERAs, and the total's high for a reason. The Braves bats have been hot, and especially with these young pitchers. Even though the stats tell us otherwise, I think they're due for some regression as well. So I'm backing the over here with the Braves and the Mariners at 8.5.
I like it. I do like that play a lot, actually. We know Atlanta's bats are one of the best in the league here, and also if we look at the advanced stats here, and if we look at Bryce Elder specifically, you can see his ERA shows really well, right? 1.94. But his advanced stats, his xERA, xFIP are pretty much like 2 runs above. So we're expecting some negative regression there on that side. So if Seattle can get some runs, and we expect Atlanta to continue to do well offensively, the over definitely seems like the play. Chris, I know you mentioned you were touching on some plays as well.
I took the Dodgers. Money line was only -130 today. I know we kind of talked about this one a little bit earlier, but it's really more so a fade of the Cardinals. They scored 16 runs. They smacked up Urias. I think he only went 3 innings yesterday, gave up 6 earned, and then they had a 7 run. I think 7 inning. Ended up with like 18 runs, 16 runs.
They had like 16 yesterday. Yeah, like 16.
I saw a couple crazy trends when they score over. It might be like 12 or 13 runs in the last 2 years. I see they're like 0-11.
Are you talking about the Cardinals?
The Cardinals are. So when they score a lot, some regression typically comes. And I like Gosselin as well. He hasn't been the greatest on the road. His home splits are a little bit better, but I think that they get it done. If you look at the Dodgers off a loss this season, especially a loss of like 3 runs or more, they typically take those games pretty serious in the bounce back spot as well. So I thought, only laying 30 cents in that spot was good. And I took them today. And Zach the Mac from way back is on the mound for the Arizona Diamondbacks today too. All right, so it's my guy. Riding with Zach since last year, and I really like him in that.
It's not too often you get to back the Dodgers at this price, so it makes sense. Here's that trend that you were just mentioning. After a loss of 3 or more, 8-3 straight up, 7-4 against this on the run line. I like that look. I like that look a lot. Those are 2 good plays there. The one that I was looking at here was the Padres on the money line. It has come back up, but yesterday I was able to get it. I think it was like minus 120 or minus 120 or minus 125 around there. It has come back up a little bit, but fading Paxton, I know he's been out of the league for about 2 years. Had his first start, did pretty well. Now I'm kind of just fading that spot there. I know the Padres bats haven't been too great this season, but the advanced stats tell me that there's still some positive regression coming in that direction. So it would probably, if I was able to pick a spot, it would probably be this spot by fading Paxton after his first start in 2 years. So that's the way that I went there from an MLB perspective. And Austin, I don't know if you actually took it though. I know WNBA is here. Did you actually take the play that we talked about before the show?
I played it small. I saw some people that some cappers that I respect, some friends of mine in my network, take the Mystics first half, and made a lot of sense to me. For I think you can go into it a little bit more. But yeah, that one I did play. I also played the under on that one.
Gotcha. So we were talking about the Mystics game here. I like the Mystics. I took Mystics +3. What I was telling Austin was is their defense, right? Their defense was one of the best in the league last year. They picked up Sykes, who's a really great perimeter defender as well. So their defense just got better. They have continuity on their side as well because they didn't lose any of their key players, and now they got a healthy EDD who's at least for the start of the season who's going to play majority of the games. I don't think they're going to split the time where she's on and off again like they did last year. And then on the opposite side, I know. The Liberty is probably one of the teams everybody's looking at, right? With Sabrina and Stewie and all those guys who came over. But I think there's going to be some chemistry issues to begin the season. That's the reason why I'm going to be fading them here, at least in game one. I trust that the Mystics get to do their part, especially at home where they do well as well. So I took the Mystics +3 on the full game. I can't talk anyone off of that first half either. So that's the way that I'm going to go. The Washington Mystics +3. I think that's it, guys. I think we touched on NBA, baseball, WNBA. I know Chris probably will touch on the WNBA at some point this year. He said he's gonna get the league pass. So
I'm intrigued.
You're intrigued.
Well, what's the best is that there's data in the SDQL at Give Me the Dog. So that's what kind of drew me in last season. And that was my first season capping WNBA, first season modeling WNBA. I had a blast. It was fun. It kept us busy during the dog days of summer. So looking forward to hearing.
It's gonna be fun. I mean, I think more people are getting into it just because people want to start bidding on stuff. When with the NBA being gone. So we'll talk about it a little bit here on Let's Cap for the most part. Now I've been betting WNBA for a while now. Probably I don't know. It's been since even before I was with Sports Memo, so quite a few years now. With that said, guys, let's move on to top looks and closing comments. Austin, let's start with you. What do you want to drop for the viewers here?
So tonight I'll stick with Celtics first half -5.5. I like your team total, Heat team total under look. I'm going to be taking a closer look at that later. For my best bet tomorrow, since the Lakers line has already moved, I think I'm going to roll with you on that Nuggets team total under. And finally, I'll have the Braves and Mariners over 8.5 for this evening.
Love it. All right, Chris, what you got?
Yeah, see, I think we're all pretty much in unison here today. I like if I had to play anything today with the line already moving in favor of Boston, even stronger after they lost as a home favorite. I think I'd be looking at the Heat team total to go under. I think like what you said, like I said, you kind of talked me off of my stance on Miami, thinking that there will be some regression with them shooting the ball. Yeah. As far as baseball today, do like the Dodgers -130. Seems like a very good price to get the Dodgers in a bounce back spot against the Cardinals, and I like Gosselin being on the mound today. Also laid the 1.5 with Zach the Mac in the Arizona Diamondbacks today as well. And then tomorrow, because the line is already changed, like Austin said, I touched on this last night. I forgot who mentioned it in the chat, but that Denver team total, like you said, RC, with the Lakers backs against the wall, best defensive team in the playoffs. it just kind of makes sense. Desperation spot. So I'll be looking the same exact way if I had to give out something. But I did play the first half. I think that line's up to 3.5 now in favor of the Lakers. I got the 2.5. And then I played the 4. But best bet for the show today, give me Dodgers on the money line -130. And tomorrow, Denver. I'm probably going to get there with you, RC. Denver team total under. The under on Denver team total. I think it's 109.5. I want to say is what I saw that.
Fuck, I think it was 108.5. Let me double check.
Yeah, I think Bet365 had a 109.5 when I looked earlier. I want to say I screenshotted it, but didn't play it yet.
Let me just double check. It was 109. 109.
109, yeah.
Yeah, 109. Okay.
109.5 -115. Yep.
I like it. What did I? I'm pretty sure I got it at Damn, did I get it at 108.5? Now I gotta look back. I can't remember.
You took it already?
I took it last night. I'm pretty sure it was
Nice.
either. I know it had a 0.5, so it's either 109.5 or 108.5. I can't remember which one it was. All right, so for me, it's gonna be the Heat team total under. I got at 103.5 last night. I think it's at 102.5 now. That I saw this morning, or 103. Nuggets team total under. Let's just use 109 for now because I don't remember what I got it at. And then Mystics +3 WNBA, and then the Padres on the money line. Those are what I want to drop for you guys here today on the show. With that said, guys, Austin, anything to promote before we cut out here?
Sorry.
Okay.
So I'll be writing the Game 4 preview for the Lakers and Nuggets for Action Network. So that'll be on Monday. I'll be releasing that late Sunday night. And yes, I should have some newsletter plays for sportsdogma.com over the weekend. So I'll post that on Twitter once it's released.
All right, yeah. Just follow Austin there, awang_HTX. He had his James Harden jersey on earlier. I don't know, he took it off, but if you guys saw the news earlier, expecting him to go back to Houston. That's gonna be a fun year next year for you guys. We'll see what happens in the draft though. What was it? No, they were 4th. They got 4th pick, right?
4th pick, yeah. Let's not talk about that. But but anyways, yeah, I'm happy. Not a lot of fans are happy about Harden potentially coming back. You know, he's got his qualms and cons, along with a lot of pros, but also a lot of cons as well.
Yeah. Sure.
I'm a big Harden fan. I think he's just going to be. I still think he's a top 10 superstar. I think he's going to be great distributing the ball to the young players here. I know his work ethic is a bit of a concern. His playoff pedigree isn't quite there, but. No, I'd be happy to have him back on the Rockets.
I'll tell you this. I feel like the roster makeup in Houston actually fits better with his play style anyways, the way that he likes to distribute the ball, in my opinion. Chris, anything to promote? You got spaces in, 2 hours, right? Or something like that. Anything else to promote before we cut out here?
Nah, that's it, man. Appreciate you having me on. Always good to chop it up with Austin, man. I only see Austin on Fridays, but if people are, only getting it, this is your first time checking out Austin, man, definitely shoot this guy a follow. Very knowledgeable guy. Should have 10 times the followers that he has, as you should as well, RC. So definitely, shoot these guys some follows, man. If you're watching from my channel, check their pages out. Always giving out free content, giving out free plays as well. And if they charge you something, it's nothing that you're going to spend not buying something small. So definitely check these guys out. Give them a follow. Like the video as well. And let's make some cash today, fellas.
Yeah, for sure, man. Let's make some cash for the rest of the playoffs while we still have it. Meaningful basketball has been very, very good to us. With that said, guys, that's the end of the show here. Make sure you guys hit the like and subscribe button. Also on Twitter, if you guys like what you hear or see, make sure you retweet or give it a little bit of heart or whatever you want to call it. With that said, next show will be on Monday. I don't know if Chris will be there on Monday, but he's been on, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for the last couple of weeks. So we'll see what happens there. Good luck with everyone's action. And also, I always want to end like this. Whether you fade us or follow us, it is on you guys to make that call. Till next time. Peace.